I'll start by saying this. Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and that's all there is to it. That's the end of the video. See you guys next time. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm talking about a series, or franchise if you will, that I just finished, surprisingly, I know. And that is the Die Hard movies. I'm going to be ranking all 5 Die Hard movies from least favorite to favorite. Now, before today, actually, I had seen 4 of the 5 Die Hard movies, and I just hadn't seen one, so I had to watch that for the first time, and I'll talk about it and let you know which one that was. But the reason I'm doing this is I believe Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I think the second Die Hard movie is almost a Christmas movie as well. People seem to forget about that for whatever reason. Got my Die Hard sweater on. I'm ready to go. So coming in at number 5 for me is A Good Day to Die Hard. Now, this movie is a disgrace. A disgrace. Not only to the franchise, but to movies in general. It makes John McClane a former shell of himself. His relationship with his son is just irritating. Jai Courtney plays him. And I've only seen this movie once back in 2013, and I am not rewatching it for this ranking. I just did not care enough to revisit this movie ever. It was so bland. It literally was about an hour and a half long. It had no characteristics of what makes Die Hard great. It had no John McClane characteristics that make him a great, compelling character. And overall, it's just a complete mess of a movie that I don't think anyone likes. I think it has a 1.9 average rating on LETTERBOXD. The CGI was awful. The action was awful. Everything about it. The script was terrible. The dialogue was terrible. This movie stinks. Coming in at number 4 for me is going to be Live Free or Die Hard. Now, I just watched this movie for the first time. That's the one I was referring to at the beginning, and I had seen parts of this on TV. I knew that he threw a car at a helicopter. Yeah. That happens in this movie. I enjoy this one. It's a fun action movie. Yes, it could have been better. I think the R rating would have definitely benefited it because hearing John McClane drop the F-bomb and seeing that over-the-top violence is really something that I think of when I think Die Hard. So it was missing that, but at the same time, it's still good old John McClane. You get that classic John McClane dialogue. He says words to replace cuss words, and it's very obvious that they were just trying to make it a PG-13 rating. I think Justin Long is a cool supporting character. You get to see Mary Elizabeth Winstead as his daughter, and Timothy Olyphant as the villain, Gabriel, is one of the better Die Hard villains, I would say. At times, I did have to suspend disbelief a little too much, like things that were happening made John McClane seem like Superman, as he's like on a jet at one point and he gets shot at in an 18-wheeler that almost flips off a bridge, and he's in a car in an elevator shaft. And I know that every Die Hard movie has those extreme moments, so I'm kind of lenient to it. But with this one, I guess it was just the CGI that made it stand out more. I'm not really sure. And if this movie was rated R, I think it would have been 10 times better. And the script, though, it's cool that it kind of lends itself to a more modern premise. As John McClane is aging, so is the antics that he gets caught up in. So Live Free or Die Hard. Solid. Coming in at number 3 for me is going to be Die Hard 2. Now, this is a movie that, like I said, I think is also a Christmas movie. It takes place on Christmas Eve, just like the first movie, so it has the same argument to be made. And essentially, this movie acts as a sort of rehash of the first, in a sense. It takes place all in an airport. Holly Gennaro's actually, his wife, is actually stuck in the sky with the same reporter from the first movie, but Die Hard 2 I still find really interesting and unique. The iconic shot from this one is, of course, when he ejects himself from the front seat of the plane and the flames are behind him. But I think the action's really good here. It doesn't stand out as much as the other two above it, but it has the classic Die Hard feel and the dialogue as he's getting into it with the cop in the airport. And I love how it's John McClane in this one location taking out the bad guys one by one. That's what I think of when I think of the first Die Hard. As a sequel, I think it works. It takes the best things from the first Die Hard movie and brings them to this, which is what you want a sequel to do, right? Yes, I wish there was a little more variation to certain things that happen, certain plot points and beats, but overall, I can't really fault this movie for what it is. I think that if you watch the first Die Hard, it's a lot of fun to turn on the second one right after. So before I give you guys my top 2, definitely hit the like button and comment down below your ranking of the Die Hard movies. What's your favorite Die Hard movie? Have you even seen the sequels? I know a lot of people only watch the first one, so let me know down below. And the most important question, do you think Die Hard's a Christmas movie? Because I do. So coming in at number 2 for me is going to be Die Hard with a Vengeance, aka Die Hard 3. Now, the very unique thing about this movie is we finally get to see John McClane in New York City. He's a New York City cop, and in the first movie, he's in LA, and he's at an airport in the second movie. So it's awesome to finally see him in his home base with Samuel L. Jackson, whose character Zeus in this movie I really enjoy. He's just a very cool dude. I just like their chemistry. Anytime Samuel L. Jackson's in a movie, usually, anytime he says anything, you're captivated. So seeing him drop his expletives paired with John McClane's expletives it's really hard to fault. You get Simon Gruber, the brother of Hans from the first Die Hard, played by Jeremy Irons, and he's such a great villain. Simon Says, I love that way. It's the voice of Scar in a Die Hard movie. I'm not complaining by any means. The premise here is just extremely unique to something that the other 3 films below it lacked, is just the very intriguing premise as it's mind games. The action through New York City, it's kind of a race. It just feels like that classic Die Hard, and I know some people actually prefer this to the first. And a fun fact, it's the first Die Hard movie that I ever saw. I know, crazy, right? But taking the top spot for me is Die Hard, the original film from 1988 that has to be the best in my opinion. It's so damn rewatchable. I watch this movie every single December, sometimes twice a December, and honestly, the first time I ever watched it was in July. So you can watch this movie any time of year, but yes, it is still a Christmas movie. It's also my favorite action movie of all time, I think. If you're thinking just pure action, it created a genre of its own. It created the genre where one man is knocking out this group one by one. Think of Olympus Has Fallen, White House Down. There's so many movies that kind of ripped off Die Hard. Die Hard at the White House, Die Hard in this location, this location. There's a lot of action movies that do that often because it's such a great idea that works, and the execution is perfect. From the opening of the scene, fists with your toes, there's just these little details that are built up as John McClane is without his shoes throughout the whole movie because something like that. That little detail is planted early on. Argyle, the limo driver, is down in the parking deck. There's all these little details that are put into place. It's such a brilliant screenplay. I don't think people give it enough credit for that, and the action in this movie is great. This scene is great.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
Hans Gruber, played by Alan Rickman, is one of the best action movie villains of all time. Dare I say villains in general. He's just so menacing on screen, and he also went on to play Snape, so if you're a Harry Potter fan, Snape is the same person as Hans Gruber in this movie. Phenomenal. But, of course, Bruce Willis as John McClane is just the classic hero that you love to root for. He's a very relatable guy. He's a common guy. He's just trying to meet up with his wife. The moments that really make you care for John McClane, like when he's talking to Al Powell over the walkie-talkie, are just some of the best little moments in this movie. And then, of course, the quotes. My goodness, the quotes.
Welcome to the party, pal!
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!
This might be one of the most quotable movies of all time. It's an all-time classic that most people talk about, and in years people have started to say, oh, it's a Christmas movie. It is a Christmas movie. Think about it. It opens with Christmas being the premise. He's going to a Christmas party on Christmas Eve, and it ends with Christmas music. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. That's beside the point. It's my favorite of the entire franchise. It's the original that kickstarted an entire genre, and one of the better action franchises, I would argue. So yeah, that's going to do it for my ranking of all 5 Die Hard movies. Hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely hit the like button. Like I said earlier, comment down below your ranking of the Die Hard movies. Have you seen them all? Which ones do you love? Which ones do you hate? And what are your thoughts on the original Die Hard? Is it a Christmas movie? I need your opinion down below, because it's a burning question I always have, is what people think about Die Hard. Is it a Christmas movie or not? If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It would mean the world. I've got a ton of content planned for the rest of the year. Mandalorian's wrapping up, top 10 movies of the year, a lot of new Pixar and DCEU content, so just stay tuned for all that and more. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.